that's it. That's all I got to say. Let's jump into topic number 2 here. We're celebrating a birthday. I wish I had my birthday hat in my
Yay!
little my things there. The Legend of Zelda franchise is turning 35 today. As of this recording, we're recording on the 21st of February. So I figured let's take some time, Seth, really, and just let's talk about Zelda. What are some of our favorite games and memories in the Zelda franchise? How do we feel about Zelda? How we got into Zelda, like anything. Let's talk and let's celebrate about the Legend of Zelda.
I'm down for that. Listen, all right. First off, I'm going to show you video viewers. You're going to get some content. I showed this a little earlier. Here's my Link's Awakening amiibo.
Oh, hey,
He's my buddy, literally right here on my desk at all time. My pride and joy. My little, and this is going to do great on the green screen. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, awesome. My little Makar, little plushie,
That's
very
awesome.
cute, handmade plushie. I mean, Legend of Zelda is consistently one of my favorite franchises. It is a franchise I think that's timeless. It is a franchise that consistently delivers unforgettable gaming experiences. And I think for many people out there, it is the game or franchise that is responsible for a lot of people's love for video games, going all the way back to the original NES, right? It's been there from the beginning. It's a Nintendo franchise, so it's got staying power, but it's a franchise I think that, like Mario, is a system seller. It is something that when Zelda is in the name, people show up. And that is because they have consistently innovated and evolved that franchise to make it something that is truly extraordinary in every generation that it exists in. Would you agree? What are your thoughts about the series as a whole?
Zelda, I feel like, is a lot of people have talked about like Pokemon is like, baby's first RPG. Because, surprise, Pokemon is very much just an RPG with a cutesy little coding on there. It's got a lot of those same mechanics. And I feel like Zelda is like your first kind of action adventure game. And I think a great introduction into like fantasy content in the fantasy realm. I know that's how I really got introduced to it, is through Zelda. But I feel like it's that fantastical world for people that aren't like, The Witcher is too much. Like all that crazy stuff, that's a little too much for me. But the Zelda has that just right amount of like fantasy stuff with like bows and arrows and swords and shields and war and things of that nature. And you have elves and other stuff like that, and kind of the mystical arts of magic and everything that kind of Nintendo has honed in with that entire series. And just every time I will be the one to say, for me, probably looking at Nintendo's catalog of all their top tier characters, Zelda is at the top for me. I know a lot of people will put Mario up there, but really for me it's Zelda.
Now, are you talking about Zelda as a character or Zelda as a franchise?
Zelda as a franchise.
Okay,
not characters, but just franchises in general. You got your...
I mean, she has the dope-ass mega arrow, the gold-ass arrow that will destroy all evil, but...
It's pretty dope.
I wanted to clarify
it's
the classic Zelda's... Link is not Zelda.
Oh, God. It's so funny how that works. It's the Legend of Zelda, but Link is the main character's name, not Zelda. It's very interesting. But no, I really have a lot of fond memories. I remember being a kid with my N64 and sitting in the evening in front of my TV, firing up the Ocarina of Time. And I remember my first... Oh God, I cannot think of the name, but I see it in my head. When you're inside the Deku Tree, inside the first dungeon you run into, and you fight the boss. And I cannot remember the boss's name, but I remember
Gore. It starts with a G. It's Gorm. It's the spider boss that's in every game.
Yes. What is you're googling it?
I'm googling it.
Give me the name, and I'm gonna feel real bad.
Okay, it is Goma.
Goma. Thank you.
But Goma is, I think, of that name.
It's Goma, and I remember specifically, and I'm in like elementary school, middle school when this game came out. I remember you walk into that room, it's like dark, and you're like, okay, what the hell's going on? And you're walking through, and you just hear the like moving around, and then you walk up, and you look at something, and this big eyeball comes up, and the lights come, the fire starts, and you're like, oh god, it's a boss fight. And it's just, I remember being so intimidated and scared, like, oh, this is very, like, the tone here is very creepy, and and playing through that, I remember I had my clock on, my clock radio was playing. I remember in that entire dungeon, the two songs that always played whenever I played it were Share. What was Do You Believe in Life After Love? And Eiffel 65. I'm blue, da boo dee da boo die.
Wow, we are carbon dating ourselves.
Yes, I am. I'm 100% doing that. But like, those songs are playing on the radio as I'm trying to take down Goma in the Deku Tree, and that's one of my favorite memories. Just like how I felt, and just like experiencing this game and the fantastical elements in here. I really have a fond place in my heart for Zelda games.
Yeah.
I really do. And it's to think that it's 35 years since this game has come out.
35.
This game is slightly older than me. Just a hair, like a year.
Just a smidgen. Yeah, what's really great about Zelda is I think everyone has that story, right? Like that is your Zelda story. The thing, I've mentioned it many times on the show, I was a dumbass kid. I had no idea how to play video games. I was bad at them. I had to have my dad come and beat King Baba because I couldn't figure out that you had to grab him from behind. I was literally the dumbest kid ever when it came to video games. I never left the first starting town of Morrowind. I just literally bought that game and just explored.
Wow, I did not know that.
I was such an idiot kid, but like I had fun playing. I just didn't know how to like play the game, right?
Yeah.
So I remember people loving Zelda. I remember the demo kiosk at Walmart. You remember the ones where you like look up for 30 minutes and your neck would completely shut down because you've been looking up so much.
Because they put it on the top part of the. Oh god, I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, it was.
Yes, and so and Rutu in chat says you're the target audience for gaming guides. Yes, back then gaming guides cost money. In fact, probably it would have been a little later in the timeline of my life, but I used to go to Books A Million after school and just read game strategy guides. I remember reading.
I remember asking my great grandmother. We were in Mississippi, and we were at a Walmart, and I like asked her to get me the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time strategy guide, just so I just sat there and just looked through it. I didn't do it. I couldn't play the game. I was visiting her, but she bought it for me for like $15, and I just like reading through it, like, oh, okay, that's how you beat the boss. It was fun.
I remember specifically playing the demo version of it. I never figured out that you were supposed to crawl through the hole to go get the sword so that you could get past the kid that's blocking you. Yes. And so I just spent 30 minutes every time I went to Walmart just playing around, like running around in the Korok village, right? Not Korok, it's
Deku village.
Deku village, yeah. And so I never bought it because I was like, I don't know how to play this game. This game's a little bit above my mental capacity, right? So fast forward, my first exposure to The Legend of Zelda as a game that I owned and fell in love with was Wind Waker, in fact. To this day, my favorite Zelda game of all time. Put that shit on Switch, please. But I remember I got my GameCube. I was super excited for Super Mario Sunshine and this new Zelda game called Wind Waker. I loved the art style, the graphics. It also had the best pre-order bonus of all time. It came with the original Ocarina of Time and Master Quest on a CD. So I remember getting that, and I just fell in love with everything Zelda from that. I remember I had a Game Boy Advance. I ended up buying the Link to the Past
Okay,
Remember that
okay.
they ported that to Game Boy Advance and had the Four Swords game on it. I remember playing that. To this day, I will argue that there is absolutely nothing wrong. For Link to the Past, perfect game. That game is perfect. There's no major criticisms I have with that game. It is a perfect Zelda game. Even Ocarina of Time, like it's maybe not aged as well, but you can pick up Link to the Past today and still have as much fun playing it today as you would have had back in the 90s. And so for me, that's when my love for Zelda kind of like flourished. But man, when you look at stuff I've bought and fandoms that I am into, Zelda is top tier.
Okay.
I've got artwork, I've got statues, I've got shrine. I mean, look, it's the thing that's
like mine's in shot right here. So hold on, that right there. Actually, can I?
Yeah.
I'm not going to move my camera.
Oh, I was about to say you are tempting. Many bad omens.
I have Zelda's on, like, so for fun stuff, for people watching videos. So that back wall right here, that's all artwork that I have, just like it's video game artwork. I've got a bunch of art that I just haven't hung up yet. But like all my favorite games are going to go on that wall, and so I'm super excited about that. Let's talk about that real quick, Seth. What are some of your favorite games in the series? You know, not saying like the best, but just ones that you had really great, memorable times with.
Yeah, I mean, Wind Waker,
Okay.
still to this day my favorite. I would say if we're trying to rank them, I have to include Breath of the Wild right underneath Wind Waker. Zelda is a game that goes through many evolutions as it's progressed, and Breath of the Wild was that evolution, right? That was where we moved from the world that I think that Ocarina of Time was the big evolution, right? Like a lot of the games after that were looking to Ocarina of Time as it's a 3D game, Z targeting, that kind of thing, all came from Ocarina of Time. Then you move to Wind Waker then you move to Breath of the Wild, and I think that is going to be what the next 10 years of Zelda games look like, right?
Okay.
Big open exploration worlds.
Hopefully more dungeons.
More dungeons. It's basically because they're not doing a mobile version. You know, used to be a portable version of Zelda and then a console version of Zelda, right? And they always delineated them. So there was the portable versions, you know, Phantom Hourglass, games specific to mobile. I hate to say mobile because it's got a phone connotation, but like portable devices. And then you had the console versions, which would have been your Wind Waker's, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Wind Waker, Link to the Past. I mean, I love that one. And I personally, I have mixed feelings about Twilight Princess. It's one of those that I remember not really enjoying the like having to be a wolf thing. Every Zelda game has a nature gimmick, right? There's always a nature gimmick. And that one was you turn into a wolf. And I remember just not really vibing with that as much. But I know that game is good. That game is very, very good. And that those wolf segments probably didn't age as poorly as I thought they were at the time. So those would probably be my big three, though, would be Link to the Past, or number one would be Wind Waker, then
Breath of the
Wild, then Link to the Past. Yes, those are.
Okay.
That's my hot ranking.
Some of my favorites, it's Ocarina of Time. I talked about it. It's got a special place in my heart. It was the first Zelda game that I played. So I definitely hold that deep, very close to my chest. Wind Waker,
like Doctor Who. It's the first one you see is your favorite Doctor, right? Yeah. And so Zelda's the same way. The first one you play is your favorite Zelda.
The Wind Waker is up there as well. It's right up there. I love the Wind Waker. I'm with you. Bring it to Switch for all that is good and holy. You don't have to worry about motion controls with Wind Waker. Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
I still, not a prediction for later in the show, but E3 that will be. Has to be. If you're not, are you even porting games at that point?
Good point.
Can you even say you're porting games? Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Another one, since I really enjoy Ocarina of Time, and I can kind of put it with Ocarina of Time. Majora's Mask is great. I loved Majora's Mask. I loved the theme they were going with there, and just especially after Ocarina of Time, I was just like, give me more. and Majora's Mask was really unique and different, that I really enjoyed. And then another one that I wasn't expecting to play, but ended up finding out I really enjoyed it. It's funny because I haven't played A Link to the Past, or I'm playing. I have to beat it. I've played a little bit of it, but not a lot. But A Link Between Worlds.
Yes.
That was on the 3DS. Man, I loved that game. It was so awesome.
Yes.
It was super awesome. But no, those are some of my favorites. Those are a couple of my favorite Zelda games there. But before we move on to our third and final topic here, Seth, a little challenge. Want you to guess. Number one, we'll ask the first question first. According to Metacritic, what is the highest rated Nintendo game? No cheats.
It's Ocarina of Time.
No Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time. You are correct. Yep. Ocarina of Time is the highest rated Zelda game with a 99.
Yep. Sounds about right.
What are the top, according to Metacritic, what are the top 5 games? And some of them have them broken out in different versions. I'm not going to count that. But the top 5 Zelda games, according to Metacritic.
From Metacritic. So this has got to be the ones that gaming press suck on. They love that. Ocarina of Time. Big one.
It doesn't have to be in any order. Just the top 5.
I would. Breath of the Wild is definitely on that list.
Okay, that's 2.
See, this is tough because, like, A Link to the Past should be on that list. But I don't know that it came out in a time that Game Press was covering it. So I'm going to say A Link to the Past.
No. Link to the Past is not. It's not in the top 5. It's right outside of it, but it's not in the top 5.
So then, is Wind Waker on the list?
Wind Waker is on it.
Wow, okay. I remember that game got kind of panned when it came out, but maybe that was a fan.
No, just everybody saw the whole Zelda cell shaded crap, and I was like, get that shit out of here. This game's gonna be great. 4, yes, Twilight Princess is number 4.
Has got to be on there, and I want to say A Link Between Worlds.
Nope.
Okay. That's my second strike. I'm trying to get this last one.
One more. You get one more.
Oh, man. Let's see. Link's Awakening.
Third strike. According to this, based on taking out duplicates, the fifth, you got the top 4. So Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. That's a duplicate, and that's a duplicate, and then the 5th one is Majora's Mask.
Oh, actually. I was thinking about it, but I didn't know how that one responded to press. I feel like, sorry, I'm going to get a little cynical here. I feel like when you reuse assets, press tends to hit you really hard for that. But maybe not back then. Maybe you got a pass for it back then because you had to get stuff out the door. But I mean, let's be real. If Breath of the Wild 2 comes out and it's the same map, it will be reflected in the Metacritic score. Like, even if it's all new game, it would be reflected. So, but that's interesting. That's good to know. So, I love Zelda. Zelda's great, but I would say top 3 gaming franchise of all time. Like,
okay.